The second quarterly online legal briefing of 2024 of Oneness Biotech has officially begun. Today, we are very pleased to have all investors to participate in Oneness Biotech's report to shareholders online. First of all, I would like to introduce the management team of Oneness Biotech: Ms. Shuling Cheng, General Manager; Mr. Yang-Ki Cheng, Vice President of Business Department; Mr. Junbai Chen, Director of Antibody Division; Mr. Wenqi Xiao, Assistant Manager of Finance Department. This meeting will last for 45 minutes. First of all, I would like to invite Mr. Cheng to give a speech.
Good afternoon, shareholders, ladies and gentlemen. Today is the second quarterly press conference of Oneness 2024, and the management team would like to report to shareholders on Oneness Biotech's marketing strategy and R&D progress, as well as the important issues that shareholders are concerned about, in the hope that shareholders can understand Oneness better. First of all, we would like to report the important milestones accomplished by ON101 this quarter. ON101 has made 3 significant progresses in expanding the global chronic wound care market with its 2 strategies of innovative drugs and medical devices. First, ON101 obtained multiple 510(k) clearances for chronic wounds in the US market. Second, completed the EU MDR submission. Third, we signed a sales contract in Malaysia and successfully completed the Phase 2 clinical trial of SNS 812 nucleic acid new drug with 135 COVID-19 patients. ON101's global market plan leverages multiple regulatory routes, including Fespixin as new drugs, Bonvatus as medical device with 510(k), EU MDR, and MDSAP quality system verification, for simultaneous market entry. 510(k) of U.S. medical materials is the benchmark for other market access, and obtaining the 510(k) clearances can accelerate the access to other target markets, which is favorable for the completion of the access to more than 30 major markets for diabetic foot ulcers from 2024 to 2025. Compared to the single indication approach of new drug approval, this strategy is expected to accelerate market entry by at least 5 years and save over 10 billion new Taiwan dollars in development costs. U.S. is a major global market for pharmaceuticals, and early market access can be gained through medical devices. Bonvatus obtained Phase 2 of its US 510(k) clearances in May 2024, which adds chronic wound indications to the originally approved acute wounds, including partial dermal wounds for Grade 1 diabetic foot ulcers, Grade 1 and 2 varicose vein ulcers and pressure ulcers, surgical suture wounds, and Grade 1 and superficial Grade 2 burns. With the most streamlined cost and time, Oneness Biotech has achieved a number of chronic wound indications, and this breakthrough has declared Bonvatus to be a major step forward in the U.S. market, which has been highly recognized by U.S. KOLs. Representing a precise and correct access strategy, the team has already formulated a pre-launch plan and will apply for a full dermal chronic wound indication to expand the market for commercial wound care. The EU market will be submitted under a multidisciplinary adaptation strategy, including acute wounds, chronic wounds, post-operative wounds and burns. Currently, the MDR application is on schedule, and the submission of the application will facilitate the advancement of the cooperation negotiation among European countries. The Fespixin innovation is already launched in Taiwan and Singapore, and is expanding into the chronic wound care market in Asia, and in 2024, the team will continue to work on the Taiwan market, expanding the use of Fespixin in a variety of difficult wounds through the publication of clinical evidence-based journals. The post-launch clinical utilization in Taiwan and the publication of clinical journals will provide strong support for the global launch of Fespixin. China is a vast market, and we will work with Microbio Shanghai to negotiate with mainland pharmaceutical companies on the basis of exclusive sales authorization. Through academic seminars and speeches at large trade associations, the team has gained a high degree of recognition of Fespixin from the experts at the conference and is actively expanding its presence in the China market. Singapore and Malaysia are the main indicators of the Southeast Asian market. Singapore has already received a number of orders and shipped the products, while Malaysia has completed the signing of the distribution contract this month and will ship the products soon. The Southeast Asian market will be modeled after Singapore and Malaysia, with distribution cooperation as the main business model. Meanwhile, Oneness is planning to apply for fast-track review in the Philippines and is actively negotiating with suitable distributors. With the excellent road capability, the team has made a lot of progress in the core road drugs SNS 812 and FB 825. The team of SNS 812 has been developing the product with the standard of an international pharmaceutical company, and has taken 1.5 years to advance from the road of the drug to applying for the Phase 1 clinical trial of the US FDA, and then completing the clinical Phase 1 and Phase 2 trials in the shortest possible time, and is expected to obtain the Phase 2 trial in Q4 of 2024. It is expected to obtain the results of Phase 2 unblinding in Q4 2024. According to genetic analysis, SNS812 can still effectively cover KP1.1, KP.2, and KP.3, the major strains that caused the recent epidemic peak. FB825 has demonstrated a unique pharmacological mechanism for atopic dermatitis and may provide new treatment options for patients. After the team completes the subcutaneous bridging trial, a Phase 2 clinical trial will be conducted to validate the efficacy in atopic dermatitis. This method of drug administration is relatively convenient and can enhance patient cooperation, which is not only conducive to the closing of the trial but also provides a favorable basis for future marketing. In addition to SNS812, the new nucleic acid drug developed in collaboration with Microbio Shanghai continues to make breakthrough progress, and is currently undergoing a number of critical pharmacotoxicological experiments, and we look forward to joining the United New Drug lineup in the near future. We look forward to joining the Oneness Biotech lineup in the near future and creating greater value for our shareholders. We wish you all the best in 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chung. I would like to ask Mr. Hsiao to explain the financial report to you.
Thank you. This is the disclaimer for this legal briefing. Next, we will report on our first quarter 2024 financial results. Firstly, we would like to report the key financial figures and changes for the first quarter of 2024. Revenue for Q1 2024 was NTD 25.81 million, an increase of NTD $3623,000 from Q1 2023. Research and development expenses were NTD 225,415,000, an increase of NTD $12,534,000 from Q1 2023. Loss for the period of NTD $84,857,000, change of NTD $1,845,25,000 from Q1 2023. In terms of assets and liabilities, as at March 31, 2024, total assets were NTD 15,073,463 million, a decrease of NTD 588,660 million from March 31, 2023. Total liabilities were NTD 835,582 million, an increase of NTD 148,224 million from March 31, 2023. Shareholders' equity was NTD 14,238,061 million, a decrease of NTD 36,884 million from March 31, 2023. Detailed changes in figures will be reported later. Based on the closing price of NTD 164 per share on June 28, 2024, the market capitalization is approximately NTD 74.6 billion. We now report the condensed statement of income. First quarter 2024, loss per share, 0.2. Loss per share for the first quarter of 2023 was 0.59. Loss after tax of $84,857 million for the first quarter of 2024. Loss after tax of $269,382,000 for the first quarter of 2023. Operating revenues, operating costs, and gross profit, and marketing and administrative expenses and operating expenses were not significantly different from the first quarter of 2023. In the first quarter of 2024, the main expenses were in research and development, and R&D expenses of $225,415,000 were mainly spent on a number of international clinical trials of new drugs, including Phase 3, Phase 2, Phase 1, and preclinical trials. R&D expenses accounted for 81.52% of operating expenses in Q1 2024, and non-operating income was $175,926 million in Q1 2024, mainly due to $228,196 million of net unrealized gain on valuation of foreign currency assets, net investment loss of $127,602 million, and interest income on bank deposits of $75.47 million were recognized from equity method investments based on the proportion of equity ownership in the company. The following is a condensed balance sheet report for you. Total assets at March 34, 2024 were NTD $15,073,643 million. Significant changes in assets, liabilities, and equity during the period are summarized as follows. Cash financial assets amounted to NTD $7,697,465,000, a decrease from the previous quarter mainly due to financial assets at fair value through other comprehensive income and listed stocks. The decrease was mainly due to a NTD $216.35 million loss on valuation of financial assets at fair value through other comprehensive income, listed stocks, a NTD $75.47 million interest income on bank deposits, and other net cash changes from operating activities. The second item, investment in financial assets, was NTD $3,762.9 million, a decrease from the previous quarter, mainly due to NTD $127,602 million net loss recognized on equity method investments based on the proportion of ownership. The third item was the cumulative loss of NTD $1,359,181 million. The reason for this change has just been explained in the condensed statement of income report. The fourth item is the unrealized gain or loss on financial assets at fair value through other comprehensive income of NTD $1,543,765,000. The decrease from the previous quarter was mainly due to the recognition of unrealized valuation gains or losses on investments in equity instruments at fair value through other comprehensive income of NTD $173,675,000, and the share of other comprehensive income of NTD $5,148,000 from affiliates accounted for under the equity method. The above is a summary of the balance sheet. The above is an explanation of the significant changes in the balance sheet. Note 1 to the financial statement summarizes the recent profit and loss for the first quarter of 2024 and is available to shareholders who are unable to attend the online meeting. Note 2 to the financial statements. The key financial ratios for the first quarter of fiscal year 2024 are current ratio of 4,055.93%, quick ratio of 3,981.37%, and debt to total assets ratio of 5.54%, and the changes in the fourth significant item are summarized in Note 1 to the financial statements. The fourth point of the explanation of changes in significant items is also available for your reference. The above is the financial report of Oneness Biotech. Thank you.
Next, the operation report will be presented by the Vice President of Business Department, Mr. Yongki Cheng.
Next, I would like to report on the progress of the operation of Oneness Biotech. As we reported in the first quarter of this year, 2024 is the business year for Oneness Biotech. In 2024, we are actively expanding our global markets in accordance with our plans. The following are some of the highlights of today's report. First, our global market strategy for innovative drugs and medical devices. Second, Vespixen's market strategy and progress. Vespixen's sales markets include Taiwan, China, and Southeast Asia. Third, the strategy and progress of Bonvadis's access to the medical device market, mainly including the U.S. market and the EU region. With respect to the global market strategy for innovative drugs and medical devices, for the U.S. market, as announced in May 2024, Bonvadis has obtained further U.S. medical device 510(k) approval for the addition of a new indication for chronic wounds, including partial dermatomal wounds, to the previously approved acute wounds. It can be used for diabetic foot ulcers grade 1, varicose vein ulcers and pressure ulcers grade 1-2, post-surgical suture wounds, burns grade 1 and superficial grade 2. Subsequent applications will also be submitted for all U.S. chronic wounds with full dermal coverage. For the EU market, a number of indications for MDR have been submitted for acute wounds, chronic wounds, post-operative wounds, and burns through the medical device access channel. Through Vespixen New Drugs, Bonvadis 510(k) access, EU MDR and MDS-TEP quality system verification. The unified multi-pipeline has targeted more than 30 markets worldwide with a high share of diabetes, and aims to complete all market access by 2024 to 2025, which is estimated to be at least 5 years earlier than the new drugs single pipeline, and to save 10 billion new Taiwan dollars in costs. It is estimated that this will be at least 5 years earlier than the single pipeline for new drugs and will save 10 billion new Taiwan dollars. For the Taiwan market, we continue to publish clinical evidence after launch. This article is about the proven efficacy in the group of dialysis patients with DFU. According to the literature, diabetic patients with dialysis are the most prevalent group of ulcers, and according to the statistics, about 30% to 50% of patients with DFU are on dialysis. since renal dialysis or renal insufficiency is a high risk factor for healing. Most clinical trials have excluded this group of patients, and the healing rate of DFU in patients with renal dialysis is only about 20%, which is much lower than that of patients with general DFU. They are also at high risk for amputation. Post-market clinical trials have demonstrated that Fespixin can achieve a 60% wound healing rate in dialysis patients with Wagner grade 2 DFUs, which demonstrates the robustness of Fespixin in the treatment of difficult wounds. 2024 May has been published in the case report in Clinical Medicine International Medical Journal. In Taiwan, there are also published clinical cases of burns and difficult wounds. Regarding burns, a patient with chronic second-degree burns caused by chemical agents, who had been treated with a silver-containing moisturizing dressing and silicone dressings for about 15 weeks with no significant improvement, was completely healed after 3 weeks of treatment with Fespixin. In difficult wound treatment, the case report of Fesoixin for difficult wound treatment was published in the Journal of the Taiwan Society of Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery, Volume 33, Issue 2, June 2024. Next is the China market, which is of great interest to all of us. Once again, we would like to reiterate that Fespixin is the first approved natural medicine class 1.1 new drug in China, and also the first specialized new drug for diabetic foot ulcers. The China market is a huge market, and Fespixin will be sold under exclusive authorization. Our strategy remains unchanged, and we are currently in the process of negotiating with well-known pharmaceutical companies in China. We are currently in the process of negotiating with renowned pharmaceutical companies in China. We will announce the results of the negotiation in accordance with the regulations. In addition, for the 120 cases of post-marketing clinical studies in China, Microbio Shanghai held a trial kickoff meeting in June, and is scheduled to launch the trial in the third quarter of 2024 to close the case. The annual health insurance negotiation in China takes place from July to December every year, which is the next important market key point for Fespixin. Consultations with experts and the preparation of health insurance data are ongoing. On May 31, 2024, the 12th Diabetes, Obesity, and Hypertension from Debate to Consensus Conference was held in Shanghai, China, which is an international academic conference on the topic of diabetes, obesity, and hypertension. During the conference, we actively exchanged ideas with experts from the DFU in China and introduced Fespixin M1M2 macrophage innovative mechanism of action to prospective clinicians, which gained a high degree of recognition from the experts at the conference. The presentation was highly recognized by the participating experts. In addition, on June 28 to 29, 2024, at the first Chinese-American Biomedical Technology Association, CBA, China annual meeting in Chengdu, Oneness was invited to give a speech to share the breakthrough efficacy of Fespixin in the real world in Taiwan. We are pleased to report that ON101 has been published in a new international journal. After obtaining the Taiwan drug license in 2021, ON101 has applied for the inclusion of 40 more mainland subjects in China to expand the efficacy and safety study, and finally completed the data of 276 subjects. The results were very encouraging, as they were consistent with the main trial of 236 subjects, and not only achieved more significant statistics, but also reaffirmed the robust efficacy and safety of ON101. Post-analysis in the subgroup of difficult-to-heal diabetic foot ulcers also achieved significant results, including Wagner grade 2, plantar pressure, large wounds larger than 5 square centimeters, ulcers lasting longer than 3 months, poor glycemic control with HbA1c greater than 9%, and overweight with BMI greater than 25 ulcers at high risk for difficult-to-heal healing, all of which were significantly improved by ON101. The results of the above analysis were accepted by the internationally renowned SCI journal Advanced in Wound Care in May 2024, and this article was co-published with Dr. David Armstrong, an authoritative physician in the United States. Next, I would like to report on the progress of the Singapore-Malaysia market. Distributors in Singapore have been picking up the medication. Fespixin has entered the hospital system and is also being rolled out to other channels. We have continued to receive follow-up orders and shipments, and we have also submitted the application for healthcare insurance in Singapore simultaneously. As for Malaysia, we have completed the signing of the distributor agreement in June 2024 and are currently in the process of pre-shipment and preparation for the launch of the product, which is scheduled to enter the Malaysian market in the third quarter of 2024. Other regions in Southeast Asia, including Indonesia and Vietnam, will follow the Singapore-Malaysia model and adopt the distributor-agent business model as the main sales business model, and plan for the launch of Fespixin and the signing of partner companies in accordance with the progress of the approval of the drug licenses of the respective countries. Among them, the Philippines is expected to submit a fast-track application for review and simultaneously conduct distributor negotiations. The other is the largest market, the US, which accounts for 80% of global market revenue and is a major revenue market. Early market access through the 510(k) regulatory pathway allows us to obtain multiple certificates of compliance at the most streamlined cost to expand into different markets. In addition, resources can be invested in post-market research to start building customer relationships and obtaining strong scientific evidence for marketing to support subsequent sales. We have also adopted a consistent global pricing strategy for medical devices and new drugs, with prices for Bonvadis in the US and other markets being set according to a global pricing strategy. Prices for Bonvadis in the US and other markets will be set in accordance with the global pricing strategy, with an initial focus on the self-funded market for approved indications, followed by continuous promotion of trial programs and clinics to build up evidence-based word-of-mouth, and simultaneous and continuous marketing programs. For the EU market, we are submitting the MDR test registration according to the established schedule. The first stage is the initial review of the documents. In June 2024 has been submitted to the NB review of the quality system documents and product technical documents, including product design and manufacturing safety and performance, risk assessment and verification of validity and other documents. The second stage enters into the formal review. NB formal review time will depend on the preliminary review. Comments will be arranged to the factory physical audit, the scope of the documents and manufacturing environment. We will be multidisciplinary adaptation as a strategy to submit the market access. Many countries in the European market are negotiating for authorization, and the submission of MDR will facilitate the progress of the negotiation process. Finally, our global presence will be a step-by-step approach to gain market dominance, and our dual branding strategy of innovative drugs and medical devices will accelerate the time to market and benefit patients in 30 countries worldwide. We will continue to publish clinical and real-world evidence in the spirit of science. We will utilize real-world clinical experience after the Taiwan launch to demonstrate efficacy, safety, and value of our products to help us reach global markets. The pricing strategy and business model of the Singapore launch has laid a good foundation for entering the Southeast Asian market. Oneness will also use this to promote access to other Southeast Asian markets. Last but not least, the stage-by-stage medical material certification will quickly gain access to the US and EU markets. The US is the main sales market, and the US will gradually become the core of Oneness' revenue and profit growth. The development of the following major new drugs has been assigned to Mr. Junbai Chen, Director of Antibody Division.
Next, I would like to report to shareholders on the progress of the development of 3 new drugs: FB825 anti-CMX monoclonal antibody for the treatment of atopic dermatitis and allergic asthma, SNS812 mini-nucleic acid for the treatment of pan-neoplastic coronary influenza, and FB7014A anti-IL-6 monoclonal antibody for the treatment of severe asthma and cardiovascular disease induced by chronic renal disease. Firstly, we would like to report the development progress of FB825 anti-IgE B-cell monoclonal antibody. After the completion of the bridging trial of intravenous and subcutaneous dosage forms, we have started to plan the efficacy trial program of FB825 for moderate to severe atopic dermatitis in subcutaneous dosage form, which has been approved for trial by the Taiwan TFDA, and we also obtained the consent to the design of the clinical trial from the US FDA in May. The trial will enroll 90 patients with poorly controlled moderate to severe atopic dermatitis, and FB825 will be administered as a subcutaneous injection over a 3-month treatment period, with a 3-month safety period of observation following the last dose. The trial will be conducted in multiple trial centers in the US and Taiwan, and has already been approved for conduct by the IRB of the Taiwan Trial Center, and is scheduled to be conducted in the Taiwan Trial Center starting next quarter. In the fourth quarter of 2024, we will start accepting cases in the US Test Center. In addition to advancing clinical trials, Oneness Biotech's RD team has also continued to deepen the scientific research on the pharmacological mechanism of FB825. From the perspective of pathogenesis, we clearly understand that IgE B cells are the source of IgE production, and we have done a large number of literature reviews, but at present, there is not yet a single piece of literature that explicitly describes the relationship between IgE B cells and the pathogenicity of atopic dermatitis. Oneness has antibodies against IgE B cells and has previously established cell staining techniques for IgE B cells, so the team decided to establish their own pathology animal model to verify the direct association between IgE B cells and disease. Since conventional test mice do not carry the CEMX gene sequence on human IgE B cells, the team pioneered the use of allergens in gene transfer CEMX mice to induce atopic dermatitis symptoms, which include red rashes, flaking, and thickening of the skin, among others. Since this is a mouse animal model, we used murine FB825 antibody to eliminate IgE B cells, and used this experimental design to verify that FB825 can improve atopic dermatitis symptoms. This unique animal model can not only be used to explore the pharmacological mechanism, but also be beneficial for further exploration of biomarkers, which will help us to more accurately identify the possible groups of responders. The results of this animal study have been translated from preclinical efficacy to clinical observations, which can significantly enhance the value of FB825. We utilized a unique CMX mouse that utilizes an allergen-induced atopic dermatitis disease model by administering murine FB825 antibodies to the mouse, and we saw several important changes in disease symptoms. There were 2 groups of mice in the experiment. One group was given the control antibody, and the other group was given the mouse FB825 antibody. We saw a significant improvement in back skin rashes and flaking symptoms in the mice with FB825 antibodies, and a significant reduction in skin severity in the mice given FB825 compared to the control group, as assessed by the disease index. We also performed pathological sections of the back skin of the mice, and also saw that the administration of FB825 to the mice suppressed the symptoms of thickening of the dermis and epidermis caused by atopic dermatitis. In addition to the observed skin symptoms, we also took blood and saw a significant decrease in the amount of total and allergen-specific IgE in the serum of the mice compared with that of the control group. The animal results are the first scientific evidence that culling IgE cells can improve the symptoms of atopic dermatitis. The research team is very excited, and we will plan further experiments to strengthen the unique mechanism of FB825 and further understand the function of IgE B cells. We would like to report the progress of the clinical trial of FB825 in the treatment of moderate to severe allergic asthma. The goal of this Phase 2 clinical trial is to evaluate the reduction of the incidence of asthma deterioration, and it is planned to enroll 100 patients in the treatment period of 6 months, with 1 dose of FB825 per month, a total of 6 doses, and a safety observation period of 3 months, which is currently under continuous enrollment. Based on the recommendation of the PI of the trial center, and after discussion with international partners, some of the conditions of inclusion will be modified to expand the use of the population in order to accelerate the acceptance of the case. These changes are scheduled to be approved by the regulatory agencies and IRB in the third quarter of 2024. Following the progress of the development of SNS-812, a new drug for C. pneumonia, in the first quarter of this year, the JN.1 strain of the virus began to spread around the world, and in the second quarter, new strains of the virus, KB1.1, KB2, and KB.3, began to emerge and spread around the world rapidly. From the news, we can see that the outbreak has risen again recently, and the CDC has indicated that it may enter a plateau after the middle of next month. Genetic analysis of the database shows that SNS8-2 is still effective in covering the above new strains of viruses. By analyzing the mutation sites of the new mutant strains, we can see that the region with the highest mutation rate is in the coding region of the spine protein, which is also the target region of most of the current vaccines and antibodies. When mutant strains appear, antibodies or vaccines may not be able to effectively block the new epidemic strains. For example, the small molecule drug Paxlovid mainly targets 3CL protease, and the new viral strains are also mutated in the coding region, which is why Paxlovid inevitably develops resistance. Unlike the targets of small molecules, vaccines, and antibodies, the SNS8112 targeting region maintains a high degree of retention. This also shows that SNS812 can target all the current mutant strains. Regarding the progress of the clinical trial of SNS812, the Phase 2 clinical trial with National Taiwan University Hospital, Taipei Medical University, Wanfang Hospital, and Shuanghe Hospital is progressing well, and the final patients will be enrolled when the outbreak rises. The case of all 135 subjects will be completed in June 2024, and there are no serious adverse reactions related to the drug in all 135 subjects. The clinical safety of SNS812 will be revalidated, and the final interviews with the final subjects are expected to be completed in August this year, with unblinded results and clinical trial report available in the fourth quarter of this year. Currently, there is no new drug in the world that is effective and safe for the treatment of the new Crown variant, and SNS812 has excellent market potential. We will continue to look forward to the results of the data so that we can make the next step in the planning process. Next, we would like to report the development progress of FB704A anti-IL-6 monoclonal antibody. FB704A is undergoing a secondary clinical trial in severe asthma, which will enroll 40 severe asthma patients with a high percentage of sputum neutrophils to verify the safety and efficacy of FB704A in asthma patients. So far, no serious adverse events have occurred, indicating that the safety profile of FB704A is good. We will continue to promote the progress of this trial and have submitted a clinical trial application to the Kaohsiung Research Center IRB in order to increase the speed of trial intake. In order to increase the market value of the product, FB704A has also initiated the exploration of the second indication, which is to improve the cardiovascular disease associated with chronic kidney disease, and planned an exploratory experiment. In order to accelerate the closing of this experiment, the simultaneous planning of the patient pre-screening mechanism to conduct the blood analysis of chronic kidney disease patients and to study the numerical distribution of the patient's inflammatory index, CRP, has been approved by the Pilot Center, the IRB, and complete data of CRP for chronic kidney disease will be available in the third quarter of this year. The complete data of CRP in chronic kidney disease is expected to be available in the third quarter of this year. Through the patient pre-screening process, once CRP values are found to meet the criteria for inclusion in the trial, subject recruitment can be carried out, which is conducive to improving the speed of case intake, and the above is a progress report on the development of major new drugs. Next, we would like to report our ESG performance to our shareholders. The Oneness team continues to be recognized by domestic and international ESG evaluations. As of this year, we have been selected as one of the top 5% of the Taiwan corporate governance rating for the listed companies, and one of the top 10% of the non-financial electronic listed companies, with market capitalization of $10 billion or more for the third consecutive year. We have met 77 out of 80 indicators, which is a 96% compliance rate. We are not satisfied with the current situation and will continue to work hard on ESG performance. Finally, we would like to remind investors that Oneness Biotech is a global innovative drug company, and with high innovation comes high risk. Any research and development or trial may not go as expected, and Oneness has done its best in risk control and countermeasures. Investors should be aware of the risks. After the successful launch of a new drug, it will still take some time for the distribution and efficacy of the drug to be confirmed, so please wait patiently. With the advantages of talent, capital, technology, and innovation, Oneness has an abundant supply of new drug R&D projects that continue to progress, but it still needs to reach a turning point before it can begin to enter the profit-making period, which is to achieve progress with the licensed drugs, enter the major markets with the listed drugs, and continue to license the drugs. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to sharing more progress with you in the future.
Thank you very much for your participation in this legal briefing. Due to time constraints, today's online meeting ends here. The part of the investor's question that has not been answered will be replied on the official website of the Investor QA. The next conference is scheduled for late September. Wish you all a successful investment. Thank you.